Three friends, Liam, Jade, and Ben, decide to spend a weekend at a remote beach in Australia. Their relationship is built on years of friendship, full of shared experiences and funny anecdotes. Liam, an adventure lover, is always looking for new experiences and challenges. Jade, a creative soul with a passion for photography, loves capturing moments and discovering the beauty of the world around them. Ben is more reserved, a dreamer who harbors deep fears and doubts, often suppressing them to maintain the joyful atmosphere of their outings. After a day spent sunbathing and surfing, as the sun slowly sets, they decide to pitch their tents and prepare a bonfire. As they breathe in the air scented with salty water and sand, they begin to share their dreams for the future. Liam talks about plans for trips to other countries. Jade envisions exhibitions of her photographs, and Ben remains silent, hiding his uncertainty about his future. The warm sand makes them feel comfortable, and the sound of the waves relaxes them. However, despite moments of carefreeness, there is tension in the air. As darkness falls, the atmosphere becomes a bit darker, and each friend begins to feel uneasy. Jade, who has always been more sensitive to her surroundings, notices that something is off. Despite being together, they seem to be drifting apart, each lost in their own thoughts. After a while of cooking together by the fire, Jade notices a disturbing sound coming from the darkness. The voice resembles a low, vibrating hum, as if something is moving beneath the surface of the sand. The friends exchange worried glances. Liam, despite his usually optimistic mood, begins to feel an unpleasant chill. Ben, who often hides his fears, now cannot ignore the growing sense of unease. Although they try to focus on the bonfire, they realize their carefree conversations are giving way to unspoken worries. The surrounding forest seems denser, and the shadows of the trees become more ominous. Each friend feels a growing anxiety creeping into their thoughts. Although they try to stay calm, the atmosphere becomes increasingly oppressive, and the joy of the outing is overshadowed by a looming sense of unknown danger. The night grows darker, and the friends feel chills running down their spines. The warmth of their recent conversations slowly dissipates, and the surrounding silence becomes almost suffocating. The only sound is the rhythmic crash of waves against the shore, which takes on an unsettling tone. In this uncomfortable silence, Jade, feeling a rising fear, tears her gaze from the fire and stares into the darkness extending toward the horizon. It is then that she spots strange lights in the distance. They resemble dark, flickering orbs moving in an unpredictable manner, their colors pulsating, from intense red to deep blue, passing through unsettling shades of green. The phenomenon seems distant, yet too close, as if dancing to an invisible melody. "Liam, Ben, look," Jade calls, her voice trembling as she points to the sky. The friends, drawn by her tone, look up. Their faces reveal a mix of curiosity and fear as they begin to notice what had previously escaped their attention. Liam, who has always been fascinated by supernatural phenomena, rises from his spot, his eyes shining with excitement. "What could that be? Maybe UFOs?" he says enthusiastically. But even he cannot hide his doubts. Ben, sitting silently, nervously keeps his hand on the edge of the tent, as if he wants to hide at any moment. "Maybe it's just lantern lights reflecting off the clouds?" He tries to rationalize, but deep down he feels it's something more than a simple atmospheric phenomenon. The lights in the sky seem to move in an inhuman rhythm, inducing a sense of unease. Jade, both fascinated and terrified, reaches for her camera, but at that moment she realizes the battery is dead. "No, not now," she mutters to herself, feeling her disappointment grow. Her last chance to capture this extraordinary phenomenon slips away, only deepening her anxiety. Suddenly, as if on cue, the lights in the sky flash brightly and disappear for a moment, causing the friends to hold their breath. Each of them feels as if the phenomenon is examining their reactions, as if an object of unknown origin is trying to understand who these people are that dare to be in this dark place. The friends exchange anxious glances, their hearts racing with fear and unspoken curiosity. When the lights return, their color and intensity seem even more pronounced, They now take on triangular shapes that glide across the sky at an unnatural speed. Jade feels her heart racing, her hands starting to tremble. "This isn't normal," she whispers, her voice laced with fear. The friends are increasingly terrified, yet they cannot tear their eyes away from what is happening above them. The lights seem to be getting closer, and a tension hangs in the air, making the atmosphere thick as tar. Each of them senses that something extraordinary is about to happen. Suddenly, as the lights grow brighter, the friends begin to feel a strange sense of disorientation. The air in their lungs seems to thicken, and the surrounding sounds grow quieter. Liam, still fascinated, becomes almost hypnotized by this phenomenon, his eyes shining with an intense glow. "We have to get closer," he shouts, starting to move away from the bonfire. Jade grabs his hand. "No, Liam, we can't. It might be dangerous," she says, feeling ice trickle down her spine. As Ben's fear escalates, he decides to intervene. "Liam, come back here. This isn't normal," he calls out, but his voice gets lost in the darkness. Suddenly, from the dense forest from which the friends came, a shadow emerges. It appears to have a human shape, but its contours are blurred, and its eyes shine with an intense light resembling the lights in the sky. Jade, feeling growing fear, grabs Ben's arm. "What is that?" she asks, her voice trembling. The shadow becomes more distinct, and its presence seems to absorb the light around it. The terrified friends take a step back. Suddenly, the object in the sky changes direction and seems to be moving toward them, while the shadow in the forest begins to move in their direction, as if connected by an invisible thread. "We have to get out of here," Ben shouts, turning and starting to run toward the tents. Jade and Liam, paralyzed by fear, remain still for a moment, their hearts racing. Finally, Jade, feeling a panic surge of adrenaline, decides to flee as well. As the friends run, the shadow from the forest follows them, and the strange light in the sky seems to draw closer. When they reach the tents, Liam suddenly stops. "No, we have to get away," he says, urgency ringing in his voice. Ben, clearly terrified, glances at the tents. "They can hide us," he adds, but it's evident in his eyes that he doesn't believe what he's saying. Jade, her thoughts becoming increasingly chaotic, starts searching her backpack for her phone. "I need to call for help," she says, but notices there's no signal. "There's no reception," she adds, frustration etched on her face. At that moment, the sounds behind them grow louder. The murmurs they had heard earlier now take the form of a terrifying, trembling vibration, as if the very ground beneath them is starting to shake. "What the hell is that?" Ben screams, his fear transforming into panic. As the friends try to find shelter, suddenly a glow falls from the sky, blinding them. Liam is overcome by a strange, intense energy, as if something is pulling him into the abyss. "I feel it. I have to. I have to go there," he cries, trying to break free from Jade's grip. Jade, fear in her eyes, calls out to him. "Liam, no, don't leave us." But his gaze is vacant, as if he cannot hear her voice. Terrified, she grabs his hand, feeling their bodies begin to tremble under the influence of an invisible force. Suddenly, a piercing sound from the sky, like a scream, cuts through the night. Jade, in panic, closes her eyes, and Ben wraps his arm around her, trying to give her a sense of safety. The shadow from the forest finally transforms into a figure approaching them, their gaze locking onto the unknown. In an instant, they stand before an unexplainable reality. A figure from the shadow appears humanoid, but its body is covered in shiny metallic skin, and its eyes pulsate with an intense glow. Its presence fills the air with tension, and the friends feel their breaths quickening. "What do you want?" Ben says, his voice becoming barely audible. The alien figure raises a long, slender arm, in which intense light pulses. Intricate patterns cover its body, and its deep, mysterious eyes seem to penetrate their thoughts. The being's body glistens, adorned with shades of green and silver that shift as it moves. The patterns resemble tribal paintings that pulsate in rhythm with some unknown sound, vibrating in the increasingly dense air. Jade, unable to take her eyes off the unfamiliar figure, feels her heart race. "Ben, what do we do?" she asks, her voice trembling with fear. The hands of her friends, and even the sand beneath their feet, feel cold. Ben tries to take control of the situation, but fear spreads through his body like a cold sweat. Liam, fascinated yet terrified, listens to the sounds coming from the surroundings. They seem to grow louder, and their rhythm tightens with each heartbeat. The alien figure begins to approach, its long, slender legs appearing to float above the ground. Its feet barely touch the sand, and it moves like a shadow, its existence seemingly contrary to the laws of physics. "No! Don't come closer!" Jade screams, retreating toward the campfire, but the fire begins to die down, its flames becoming increasingly pale. As the darkness grows, the figure becomes clearer, and Jade notices that its face has no features. Instead, it is merely a smooth, glossy surface that reflects the remnants of the campfire's light. "I feel like it's trying to connect with us," Liam says, his voice filled with tension. The friends exchange uncertain glances, sensing the mounting tension in each in the air. Jade notices the alien's hand opening, and a vibrating, iridescent light emanates from within, seeming to draw their attention. At one point, Ben decides to take a step forward. "What do you want?" he repeats, but the tone of his voice reveals that he's unsure if he wants to know the answer. The shadow on the alien's face seems to grow larger, and from its featureless mouth emerges a sound, low, vibrating murmurs that ripple across the beach, infiltrating their minds. Jade, feeling a rising sense of dread, closes her eyes, as if trying to escape what she sees. At one point, Ben decides to take a step forward. "What do you want?" he repeats, but the tone of his voice reveals that he's unsure if he wants to know the answer. The shadow on the alien's face seems to grow larger, and from its featureless mouth emerges a sound, low, vibrating murmurs that ripple across the beach, infiltrating their minds. Jade, feeling a rising sense of dread, closes her eyes, as if trying to escape what she sees. "We can't take this. We have to go," she screams, but Ben, held in the hypnotic grip of the alien, cannot move. Strange images appear in his mind. Circles, spirals, incomprehensible symbols that make him feel as if he's in a trance. Suddenly, the air fills with sound as if their thoughts have been transmitted into the ether. He feels something powerful approaching his mind, and the feeling of fear transforms into something even worse: helplessness. The alien's gaze seems to latch onto his soul, penetrating him through and through. As he slowly opens his eyes, he sees his friends already on their knees, their faces expressing terror, and their bodies trembling. "Make it stop!" Liam screams, trying to understand what's happening, but his voice seems to vanish in the noise enveloping the beach. The alien raises its hand, and a holographic image of their memories appears in the air. Smiles, shared moments, but also dark episodes they had long forgotten. This is not just their story. It is visions meant to terrify them. As the image begins to blur, Jade feels panic taking over her mind. "What does this mean?" she cries, but the sounds in her head grow louder, and the glow of the alien light overwhelms her senses. Ben, unable to escape the hypnotic glow, loses his sense of time. An impenetrable darkness surrounds them, and thoughts begin to tangle in chaos. "This is not reality," he whispers, feeling something within him break. Feeling a rising sense of dread, Jade tries to get to her feet, but the weight of fear pins her to the ground. "We have to run," she calls out, but her voice echoes against the low vibrating sound that spreads across the sand like a shockwave. "It's not us!" Ben screams, struggling to emerge from the trance. "We have to get out." With glazed eyes, he points at the alien, whose slender silhouette becomes increasingly unreal. "It's taking us over." At that moment, the light begins to pulse in a dangerous rhythm, and the glow intensifies. The alien approaches, its hand rising again, and disturbing shapes appear in the sky. Swirling objects taking forms reminiscent of animals, plants, and faces they recognize. I feel not myself, Liam says, his voice trembling and his eyes glistening with tears. What if this never ends? The friends, feeling the mounting tension, rush toward the campfire, which is barely still burning. Each step toward the fire feels like a liberation, but the glow from above draws them like a magnet. When they reach the fire, Liam grabs a piece of wood and at the last moment throws it toward the alien. The alien freezes, and the bright light suddenly disappears, making the darkness seem even deeper. The friends don't know if this was their last choice, but they feel the weight of the disappearing light starting to release them. "Let's run," Jade screams, and all three spring to their feet, racing toward the nearest forest, where the surrounding trees seem to be the last bastion of normalcy. The fear in their hearts rises, and the echoes of unknown sounds accompany their escape. When they finally reach the forest, they feel something sting them, and the air becomes heavy and suffocating. As they flee, the friends get lost in the thicket of trees, their hearts pounding wildly. When they finally stop running, they lie on the ground, panting, exhausted, fully convinced that they will never look at each other the same way again. "What happened?" Ben says, his voice filled with panic. "Did that really happen?" Jade cannot answer. Images still dance in her eyes, memories that were never meant to be revealed. And as the darkness pulls them into its embrace, they realize that their lives have changed forever. A few days later, in the dark corridors of the local psychiatric hospital, they sit in the waiting room, surrounded by white walls and caregivers. Although they cannot comprehend what has happened, each of them carries the weight of a secret that will not allow them to forget that dark night on the beach. "It's not us," Ben shouts, struggling to break free from the trance. "We have to get out." With blurred vision, he points at the alien, whose slender figure becomes increasingly unreal. "It's taking us." At that moment, the light starts to pulse in a dangerous rhythm, and the glow becomes more intense. The alien approaches, its hand rising again, and disturbing shapes appear in the sky, swirling objects that take on forms resembling animals, plants, and faces they know. "I feel not myself," Liam says, his voice trembling and eyes shining with tears. What if this never ends? The friends, feeling the rising tension, throw themselves toward the fire that barely still burns. Each step toward the flame seems to be a release, but the glow from the sky draws them like a magnet. When they reach the fire, Liam grabs a piece of wood and at the last moment throws it toward the alien. The alien freezes, and the bright light suddenly vanishes, making the darkness seem even deeper. The friends don't know if it was their last choice, but they feel the weight of the disappearing light beginning to liberate them. "Let's run," Jade screams, and all three spring into action, racing toward the nearest forest where the surrounding trees seem to be the last bastion of normalcy. Fear rises in their hearts, and echoes of unknown sounds accompany their escape. When they finally reach the forest, they feel something sting them, and the air becomes heavy and suffocating. As they flee, the friends get lost in the thicket of trees, their hearts racing wildly. When they finally stop running, they lie on the ground, panting and exhausted, fully convinced they will never look at each other the same way again. "What happened?" Ben says, his voice filled with panic. "Did this really happen?" Jade can't answer. In her eyes, images still dance, memories that were never meant to be revealed. And as darkness envelops them, they realize their lives have changed forever. A few days later, in the dim hallways of a local psychiatric hospital, they sit in the waiting room, surrounded by white walls and caregivers. Their minds still circle around the memories of that terrifying night, unable to break free from the glow that dominated their thoughts. Each of them carries the weight of a secret that prevents them from forgetting what happened. When they finally enter the therapist's office, the doctor smiles and encourages them to share their experiences. As they speak about the strange lights in the sky and the alien being, they notice there is no room for judgment in their story. The doctor, although listening attentively, shows no doubt about their mental state. "You are all mentally healthy," he finally says, his voice tinged with surprise. "Your memories may be traumatic, but you show no signs of mental illness. What you experienced could have been a shocking experience, but your minds are stable." Relieved but intrigued, the friends leave the hospital. They finally feel free, but their memories still haunt them. Jade decides she won't let that night disappear into the shadows of forgetfulness. Together with Liam and Ben, they resolve to investigate the phenomenon of UFOs, hoping to discover something that sheds new light on their experiences. They sign up for local meetings of paranormal enthusiasts, and their new life becomes a thrilling journey into a mysterious reality. With each new discovery, with every new case they investigate, they feel they're getting closer to the truth about what really happened that night on the beach. They transform their lives into a mission to uncover answers, eager to understand what truly occurred. Over time, their relationships grow stronger. Jade, Liam, and Ben begin to share their deepest fears, helping each other cope with the emotions that still linger within them. They learn to support each other during difficult times. Their friendship evolves into something more, a trust that will endure the darkest nights. As several months pass, they meet with other witnesses of similar events. They join forces, organizing events aimed at raising awareness about unexplained phenomena. They gain increasing media attention, and their story becomes an inspiration for others who have also experienced similar unsettling encounters. At the end of the year, they organize a large event in their town, where they share their experiences and findings. During the presentation, they feel that their experience, although terrifying, has brought them a new understanding of themselves and the world. When they finally step off the stage and the audience's applause fades, Jade, Liam, and Ben stand on the beach where it all began. The night sky above them sparkles, and on the horizon, the same stars that once terrified them with their mystery appear. Yet now they feel at peace. Whatever happened, they have learned to live with those memories and made them a part of their lives. Don't be afraid to speak the truth. If you have your own story, experiences, or evidence related to UFOs, please email us. Your story is important and can help others who have had similar experiences. UFO X-Files connects us. You are not alone.